All right. What is going on, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of Thursday Thoughts. So, today I really wanted to touch on this topic of changing out of love and not hate because I was having a conversation with a client the other day. And this conversation we were having was, it was a deep conversation and it really started to spark thoughts about multiple other conversations that I've had with numerous clients throughout the years, for the past, multiple years that I've been coaching. And that is like wanting to change, lose weight, get in better shape, get stronger, feel more confident, wanting to change your body because you hate yourself. Maybe you hate the way you look. Maybe you hate the way you feel. Maybe you hate the person that you are right now. And a lot of times we use this hate as fuel to get started. We use this hate to motivate us to, kick ourselves in the gear, kick ourselves in the ass to get started. And a question we have to ask ourselves is this a good reason to actually change? Like, because we hate ourselves, right? Or we feel like we do. And is this a good strategy to use to initiate change? Like, you're so fed up with yourself that you just can't live with yourself anymore with where you're at. So you have to do something different. And I think, I thought really like long and hard about this multiple times. And I think maybe in the short term, it can be, a good solution to really kickstart things. Like if you're really struggling on starting to track your calories or starting to make it to the gym or starting to even pay attention to your nutrition at all, that little bit of, like thinking about where you're at right now and being like, I hate the person I am right now day to day. Let me change that. I think it can be beneficial in the short term. But long term, is it super successful to like use that as fuel all the time or rely on that all the time to get started or to be disciplined or to do what you need to do? I would say probably not. And that's because, as you go through your fitness journey or your weight loss journey, you might start out at a point where you have like, 50 plus pounds that you want to lose. And you might have a lot of weight you want to lose. And you might feel disgusted with how you look in the mirror when you look at yourself. And those are words that you're kind of telling yourself. But when you start your journey, and if you, start it the right way and you're on the correct plan and you're being consistent and you're working with a coach who has you seeing results, once you lose those first 20, 30 pounds, maybe 35 pounds, and you have about 15 to 20 to lose, a lot of times when you get to that point, you don't hate yourself anymore. If you hated yourself in the beginning, like you've achieved a significant result, you've changed your body drastically. Maybe you didn't hit that 50-pound weight loss mark yet, but you've hit a big portion of that and your body has dramatically changed. You've probably gone down multiple pant sizes, maybe gone down a couple of shirt sizes. And you start to feel more confident in the gym by that point, probably. You start to feel more confident in who you are, yourself. You're starting to notice changes in how you look in pictures, and you're starting to just feel overall better about yourself. So you're still not at that finish line. You're still not where you want to be, but you don't have that hate as fuel anymore. And I find a lot of clients actually, when they start this process out of that, like rooted in hate for themselves, and they don't learn to shift that to some other kind of motivator, they feel a little bit lost when they're in that middle ground where they've, lost a significant amount of weight but haven't quite reached their end goal. So like, where will you find motivation from then if you don't have that hate anymore? And I think the answer is finding that motivation out of like you loving the process of growing, and not like physically growing, but growing mentally, emotionally, psychologically, growing in just your fitness journey in general, like leveling up, right? Like you start out with maybe just doing like body weight workouts because you're really intimidated with the gym. And then you end up going to the gym a couple times a week, then a few times a week, and maybe even, a handful of times a week. And maybe you start out with the machines and then you end up moving on to dumbbells and barbells and gaining more confidence in those areas. And that's the type of growth I'm talking about. But I think finding the love for that growth process of continuously leveling up, finding that love for just change and improvement, whether that be, physically with your body, or maybe it be emotionally or personally or psychologically, like personal development and that kind of stuff. That is where, like, I think true long-term change comes from, to where even when you've achieved a point where like you are in a relatively good spot, you still have that motivation to keep going and keep pushing, because like growth and improvement is always possible, and you can always aim to be the best version of you can be day in and day out, no matter how far you are now. And also, like, something else to think about when it comes to like changing because you hate yourself is, how do you treat people that you hate? Like other people, not yourself, but other people. How do you typically treat them if you don't like them or you hate them? We probably don't treat them very well. We maybe don't, purposely sabotage them. Maybe we do. Maybe we don't directly say mean things to them. But maybe in your head, you see somebody that you hate at work or you don't like at work. And you every time you walk by them, you're like, oh, here's Jim again, or here's Carrie, or sorry if there's any Jim or Carries in here. But you see them in that, trigger something in you to, your blood pressure rises and you start to feel kind of that anger come about, and you start to say mean things about them in your head. So that's how we typically treat somebody that we don't like or somebody that we hate. We tend to either paint this like really bad picture of them in our heads, and kind of tear them down in our heads, or sometimes we actually directly tear them down ourselves, whether that's the right thing to do or not. Sometimes it happens. So if you're rooting your change out of hate because you hate the person you are right now, like, you're probably saying those mean things in your head that you're thinking about Jim and Carrie. You're probably saying those mean things in your head about yourself too. And when you constantly are saying mean things about yourself, negative things, tearing yourself down, whether you're saying it out loud when you look in the mirror or you saying it in your head when you look in the mirror, it's going to like bash down your confidence even more. And every time we bash down our confidence, it's going to make us less likely to actually go out of our comfort zone and go to the gym, or, go to the weight section of the gym when we're scared and kind of only hang out in the cardio section. It's going to, have you be less confident in your food choices when you're going out to dinner. You're like self-conscious about what are other people are going to think about my food choices. You're going to, order something just to please them, so you kind of fit in the crowd, versus standing out and ordering something that's better for your goals. And there's multiple other examples too, but if you are constantly saying mean things about yourself in your head, you're going to then end up tearing yourself down, and that confidence will never continue to build. So I think that's another issue with rooting your change that you're trying to make happen in your life out of just the hate that you have for the person or position or physical shape or whatever you're in right now. And I also had another conversation, which is kind of tied to this a little bit, with a client about her progress pictures. And I've had these conversations about multiple clients in the past about their progress pictures. So it's not like just for this client. Like, multiple clients have struggled with this, which is, they're in the program for maybe 3, 6, 9 weeks, or even longer, right? We take pictures typically every 3 weeks, but they've lost 10, 15, 20 pounds. I send them their progress pictures, and there's a huge difference. And they look at them, and I would say most clients are ecstatic, right? Because if they get to that point and they're losing that weight, they're seeing these changes in their body and they're feeling more confident. But sometimes people look at those, and despite the huge changes between those pictures and how far they've come, they feel almost like disgusted when they look at those pictures, because they look at like where they were on day one and they're disgusted with that. And then they also look at where they're at now. And while they've achieved this huge result, right? Like I mentioned, these people are down 10, 15, 20 pounds. They're still not where they want to be in their head, or they're not at that finish line, despite the amazing results that they've achieved during that time period. And I think this is like a really good reminder and a teaching moment that like you don't have to be content or satisfied with where you are now, but you should be proud. Like, you should be proud of that. even, if you want to lose 30 pounds, you should be proud of that 10-pound weight loss that you've achieved. Maybe you want a certain result, like you want your abs to look like this or your stomach to look like this, and it's changed dramatically, but it's not quite there just yet. You should be proud of even that little bit of physical change that you've had. You should be proud of your transformation. You should be proud of your progress. You should be proud of even just the fact that you got started and took the leap, because so many people sit on the sidelines and think in their head day in and day out, oh, I'm probably going to get started this week. I'm going to get started in a couple weeks. I'm going to get started after this vacation. I'm going to get started after work calms down. I'm going to get started here, and they never do. So you should be proud of all of those things. And I think it's important too, to over time, and this is something that probably won't come from the very beginning. It won't be something that maybe comes natural to a lot of people. But if you set out on this weight loss or fitness journey, I think it's very important to eventually learn how to be very vocal about it and be vocal about the change that you're pursuing or the transformation that you're actively on the journey of. Because your transformation in your journey and you taking that leap of faith and you just making that public declaration to improve on yourself, it's going to be an inspiration for other people. It's going to be an inspiration for other people in your life. It's going to positively impact them. It could be your friends. Like, they could see you post about your journey. It could be your family. It can be your kids. And I think that's really important. And I think it's really important to set the example, right? I bet you if you saw your kid, and maybe it's not like a weight loss thing, because pushing weight loss on little kids is something I don't want to get into in this podcast. But if you have a kid and maybe they are in a sport or something and they started off on day one and they weren't great because they've never practiced, they never learned how to play this efficiently, and they're just getting started. And then, maybe on week 2 or week 3, they see a little bit of improvement, but there's still a lot of kids better than them. You would probably tell them, hey, don't be down on yourself because you're not as good as them or you're not at their level. You've made so much progress over the past 2 to 3 weeks. You should be proud of that and celebrate that. And you shouldn't feel like you have to hide that. That's probably what you would tell your kid. So why wouldn't you tell yourself the same thing? Even though you might not be at your finish line, you've still achieved a significant result in that time, and you should be proud of that, and you should vocalize that. You should share that with people, because one of the most motivating things is seeing somebody that achieve a result that you want and show you that it's possible, right? It's one thing to see all these random transformations of random people online and be like, oh, they achieved that, must be nice, they might have some special circumstance that helps them. But it's totally different when somebody or you post something about your journey and somebody that knows you sees it and they're like, wow, this person did this. I know this person. I've been friends with this person. If they can do it, if he can do it or she can do it, then I can do it too. And, it just inspires so many other people, and you might not even know. They might even not reach out to you and be like, hey, I saw your transformation picture and that motivated me to get started. They might not ever say a word to you about it. But I guarantee there are people watching on the sidelines who see that and they end up taking the leap and starting their journey because of you, and end up changing their life ultimately because of you. And also too, about sharing your journey, is I truly believe that no inspiring story ever started with somebody who had their shit together on day one. You might be thinking of waiting until you've, gotten super lean to then share your progress pictures and everything. But that's not as inspiring as seeing somebody share their progress pictures along the way. Or maybe it's not pictures, but just, sharing their journey along the way and being open about their journey all the way. The best stories are the ones where you kind of see them and can watch them unfold over a long period of time versus just them being quiet and then all of a sudden, a year from now, wow, this huge transformation. Sure, that is inspiring and motivating, but I think it's more inspiring and motivating if you can be vulnerable and open and share that while you're in the trenches, while you're still along your journey, while you're on chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3, and not just, on chapter 10, finished with the book yet, the book of your journey, per se. I think that's a lot more inspiring. And I think all of this comes back to everything I kind of touched, in this live, in this recording, whether it comes to, getting started because you hate yourself and using that as motivation, or also like sharing your journey, even though you're not at your end destination. I think it all comes back to the fact that like you don't have to be at your finish line to be an inspiration to somebody. You don't have to be at your finish line to be motivating to somebody. And you don't have to be at your finish line to be, or to feel proud of where you are now, and to feel confident in yourself where you are now. You can be, not satisfied with where you are, but also be proud and confident and share where you are too. And I think that makes a huge impact in not only like the people around you and the people that you can impact by sharing your journey and motivating, inspiring them, but also just you developing that identity of somebody who is on this path, who's somebody who does value, their health and weight loss and fitness and growth and those things. When you share that constantly, you start to like embody that person and that identity. And when you start to like really think of yourself and view yourself in that light of somebody who like, I pursue this to inspire other people and it's not just about me, then you become like so powerful in your own life. And there's like no goal that feels too overwhelming to achieve then, because there's like this bigger outside purpose as to why you're doing everything that you're doing. So these are just some thoughts I've been having past day or two, Thursday thoughts. Hope you guys enjoyed this recording, this live, this episode. Leave me some comments below if you're watching this live, if you enjoyed it. If you're watching or listening to the recording later, definitely make sure you like, share, and subscribe. And that's about it for this Thursday. I will see you guys in the next one.